Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. Caught up in circles. Confusion is nothing new. Flashback, warm night, almost left behind, suitcase of memories. Sometimes you picture me, I'm walking too far ahead. You're calling to me, I can't hear what you've said. Then you say, go slow, and I fall behind. The second hand unwinds. If you're lost and you can't look, and you will find me. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting, time after time.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I was going to sing it a little more, and I didn't. I just William Shatnered it. Anyway.
I want to live like common people. I want to do whatever common people do.
Whatever common people
do. You know what?
do.
I saw a trailer for one of his new films. It's cool. It's written by some of the people who did Next Gen.
He's got a new film?
Yeah, and it's like a Tomb Raider type film where they kind of like unearth like a mummy. How is he 89 and looks that good still?
Does he still look good? The only thing I think about William Shatner is how much he's a bit of a repulsive man on Twitter.
Is he? I don't follow him, so I have no idea.
No, I shouldn't follow him, then I wouldn't think about it and just could enjoy this. Is what you on about The Devil's Revenge by any chance?
That's the one, yeah.
Oh my god, look at the cover.
I know, it looks amazing.
Oh, Welcome to Hell. Oh my god. Jerry Ryan.
Yep.
Jerry Ryan gets the billing above Shatner. I don't know who Jason Brooks is. Anyway, I haven't introduced the show. This is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast where we're on an adventure to watch a century of cinema decade by decade, year by year, and I am one half of your host, Liam Delaney, and
I'm Oliver Jones.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I am. Been trying to work at home today. It's very hot today, actually. Where I am anyway. My VPN has been playing up all day, so I've been able to kind of do nothing basically at work because I've been kicked off constantly from the work network. So that's been fun. Oh, and I went for lunch. This is a good story. I went for lunch, and there's like a cafe next door to me, so I figured I'd just pop in and quickly get something to eat. And I kind of walked in and like I was just standing kind of by the entrance waiting for someone to talk to me, which it's outside. It's like a courtyard, and loads of people just milling past, and like in restaurants, servers have like masks on, and everyone sitting down doesn't because you can't eat with a mask on. And I was watching the servers all go about, and they were kind of looking at me and then looking away again, and I was like, what am I meant to do? Like, so I kind of just I watched like as like two people with masks on went inside. There was one person with a mask stood by a table. She was like putting the cups together, like stacking the cups together, just standing by the table. So I went up to her and I was just like, can I just grab a table? Is that okay? And she just went, I don't work here. really angrily. And I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so confused. And just kind of snuck away and ran inside and found the person by the till. And just, and so basically I spent the rest of the lunch, I was sat near them as well. And I spent the rest of the lunch, guys, basically just kind of like hiding.
Well, I did that the other day. I went to the beautiful Gloucester services.
I do. I know it well.
And normally it's got two side entrances, and you normally can go in any one, can't you?
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, at the moment, like the left one is in and the right one's out, or whichever.
Shake it all about.
And so I've got a hole in my pocket, so I put my change in my pocket as I was leaving, and I got all flummoxed because it started to fall down my leg and into my socks, and so I wasn't really paying attention to which exit I was going out of. And so as I was leaving, there were some people in front of me, and I was like, you shouldn't be walking into this way. This is the exit. You should be going in that way. And then I realised, oh, shit, I'm the one going out the wrong one. They're the one coming in the right one. And I did not stop thinking about that all day. And I felt like, even though I apologised profusely, I felt like, when you wake up at like 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, I did that.
Yeah,
like,
that happened today. God. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
And it's always the most pettiest thing, but you think, oh, You'd kind of
and you can't stop thinking about it. You know? Yeah, absolutely. It really bothered me today, in a way that it shouldn't bother me, but it really bothered me today.
Have you noticed like all the like TV started to kind of produce shows again, and for some reason, like since Caroline's been working from home since the whole of lockdown started, we have lunch together as you do, but we always watch Bargain Hunt.
Oh God!
And they've always been repeats or whatever, but you can tell today was the very first show that they've recorded post lockdown because everyone's standing 2 meters apart, or everyone's just shot separately. It's so awkward watching it. And then like soaps now are all shot in single. Like it looks like one of our very first films where you don't have two actors on screen because. So everyone just did their lines in one go, like
when you're watching kind of 1930s films.
Yeah. It's so awkward, and apparently on like soaps, they'll have like a clear plane of glass in between them and stuff like that, or they'll get they'll film a scene in between like fences, so they've kind of got a gap in between the fence. So when they kiss, they both kiss like in between the fence lines, so they can like composite two shots together and stuff like that. It's quite nuts what they've been doing.
This is Home Improvement. Everyone's shot behind a fence. Oh, what was the neighbour called? Wilson.
He was in Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
He wasn't he? Yeah. We already spoke about Home Improvement. We only got 5 topics. I can't believe that. Can't they just get a COVID test, and if they haven't got it, they can just do what they want?
I've no idea.
I don't know. I guess. Well, actually, we know for a fact you can't get COVID tests at the moment.
Yeah, so that's true.
I'm talking rubbish.
Apparently, he's well again now. They're filming again.
Oh, is he? Is he back?
Yeah. He's COVID free now.
It's just going to be like this for a while. Productions are just going to continuously open and shut down, aren't they? Because as soon as it's going to happen, people on your set are going to catch COVID, and it's going to get shut down. And I don't know. It doesn't sound safe to me.
You know, like how they say like 1984 was one of the best year for films, or 1989 or 2008 and stuff like that. Somebody was going, 2021 is going to be the best year for film because we've got the Batman, we've got all these Marvel films coming out. I was like, none of those are coming out. I guarantee you.
They can't. They haven't started shooting.
It's like
we'll get all the films that are meant to come out this year coming out next year.
Well, maybe. Do you even think Ghostbusters will come out? Like, I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Sony have said that any film that they made that cost over $100 million, they're not. They've just wiped it off their slates until further notice.
Wonder Woman's been kind of pushed back until they,
December.
I think basically just indefinitely, to be honest.
Well, it's the 5th postponement for that because it was meant to come out last November, and I can't remember why I think they pushed it back for Bond maybe, and then Bond got pushed back anyway.
I forgot Bond's been
February,
Bond's been pushed
and
back
then
as well,
so Bond's been done for over a year.
Yeah.
And then that's coming out in November.
Because did they push it back because they wanted to do reshoots, and then they weren't able to do reshoots?
I have no idea. Bond films flummox me though, because they announce the shooting date and it's always like, I don't know, April of whatever year, and then they're going, it's out in October or November, and I just don't understand how they make films like that so fast. They must have like several units going at the same time. Like, no wonder why Christopher Nolan doesn't want to do a Bond, because they won't let him.
No, because Bond you don't have freedom of control and whatsoever.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to shoot every frame like he normally does. He'd have to.
What was the guy who was meant to do this Bond film?
It was
it
Trainspotting dude? Yeah, Danny Boyle.
Yeah, and that would be interesting to let Danny Boyle do a Bond film, and clearly the Broccoli's, whoever stood in charge of that, because didn't want him to do that. They don't care about having a director vision. They have a producer vision, don't they? And that's where Bond has always been.
He's definitely like an auteur if you're into that.
Oh, definitely, I think so.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And like his films are sometimes a bit hit and miss.
Yesterday, especially.
Yeah. But Trainspotting's great, and
Sunshine is amazing.
Sunshine's fantastic. Yeah. I actually quite liked 127 Hours, actually, personally, but
it's all right. And what's it called? The one that he won the Oscar for, Slumdog Millionaire.
Oh yeah. Like I still haven't seen that.
Haven't you?
No.
It's fine. It's fine. I think it's fine. I don't know. But like, yeah, like I never saw Trance. I think Steve Jobs is great.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was great. Trance was okay. Yeah, didn't he do another film similar to Trance as well, which had James McAvoy in it?
Shallow Grave, which is wonderful. Trainspotting.
That's great. Yeah.
Life Less Ordinary. The Beach.
Yeah, that was his. Oh, The Beach. God.
Yeah. 28 Days Later. Millions.
I love
Sunshine.
the book of The Beach, though. I think that's a fantastic book.
I've never read the book. The book. Never read the book. The Beach. Slumdog Millionaire. 127 Hours. Trance. Steve Jobs. T2. Trainspotting. What is it called? T2. Yesterday. And his new film's apparently called Methuselah.
Trance is the film I'm thinking of, to be honest. It's the one with Rose McGowan, so it's the same film.
So it's just Trance. I never watched it.
Yeah, it's about a painting that gets stolen or something like that. And
Cool.
James McAvoy's an art auctioneer.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Well, not really fun. It sounds like interesting.
But the painting that's stolen is called The Witches in the Air. It's quite a cool painting. It's Francisco Goya.
Oh yeah. He's the guy who painted all the kind of like tearing skin and demons and stuff yeah. I can picture his paintings.
And he did like ships, but with like massive waves crashing on them. Like really kind of intense paintings.
I didn't know it was about painting. I don't know what I thought it was about. Probably drugs.
There's another film that came out this year about a painting that got stolen. Is it The Golden Finch or something? That apparently like properly flopped.
Oh yeah, because that was a really popular book as well, wasn't it? And it just came out and went nowhere.
Well, it seemed like one of those airport books that everyone just gets.
Yeah,
in there,
like a Gone Girl or something.
Yeah, or like a Da Vinci Code or something.
Yeah. But yeah, that did come out and absolutely nobody saw it. I can't even remember who was in it. Ansel Elgort. That's the guy. That's the
guy.
Yeah. Who's obviously everyone remembers from his wonderful film of Baby Driver.
Oh, do you know what? Like, everybody raved about that film, and I just, for some reason, it just didn't.
It did nothing for me. Yeah,
like,
I don't.
Everyone's like, "Oh, it's like a musical. Everything's timed with the music." And I thought, well, the first scene kind of was, but I didn't get it from the rest of it. It just, to me, kind of lost that premise like straight away.
I agree. It kind of went really hard into it, and then kind of just was like, "Oh, it's a bit too difficult to keep doing this. So let's just kind of do it now and again."
And then the ending, I thought, like, because Kevin Spacey does this kind of like heel turn, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I hated it.
And it's just out of nowhere. And now we know what he's like in real life. It's kind of put me even wanting to even.
Yeah, because this basically was just before all the stuff came out about him, wasn't it? So yeah, they kind of put the film in a completely different light then. Like if they'd been developing this film a year later, he wouldn't be in it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Did they redeem him or something in the film? I just remember there was something I really hated about it.
Yeah, but it was just like that. It was just like all of a sudden he just turns and helps the main guy.
That's right, and it's on like it's like on a penny turn or something. There's nothing to base it on. Yeah, I remember that.
They're in like a car park or something like that. And I think, the guy from Mad Men's after him trying to kill him.
Yeah. I liked John Hamm in it. Talking of John Hamm, he's meant to be the new Fletch. Did you see that?
What? Well? Really?
Yeah. The new adaptation of Fletch with John Hamm in it, which I think will be really good because John Hamm's really funny in this and kind of. He's really funny anyway as a guy, and I think he's really funny that he can do like a serious comedic kind of turn, which is what Fletch needs. Yeah. Like someone to take the material seriously, but not doing a completely comedic way. I think he'd be good.
I found it so funny that for years they were trying to like do a sequel to that, and like Kevin Smith was on it for a while, wasn't he? And he was going to do like Son of Fletch
with Jason Lee, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were going to do Son of Fletch or something. Then they were going to actually do like the books, which were like Fletch 1 and Fletch 2, maybe. I don't know.
Fletch 1, yeah.
Yeah, it's Fletch 1, isn't it, or 1 or something like that? Yeah.
I don't know. I've not read the books. I know it from the 80s film. Yeah.
I just love the first one. The second one's a bit hit and miss, but the first one I think is great.
The first one's great. Yeah, the first one is great.
And it's got a good score as well.
It does have a great score, and I love Chevy Chase. I know that
it's Harold Faltermeyer, isn't it, who did like Beverly Hills Cop and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be based on Confess Fletch, which is the second book, apparently.
Okay.
But yeah, like that's. I think Jason Sudeikis was linked for years, and then wasn't it Smith was replaced by Bill Lawrence? You know, the guy who does. Scrubs.
Oh yeah, because Zach Braff was.
It was going to be Zach Braff. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened to Zach Braff?
I don't know. He's a millionaire. I don't know.
Yeah, he's content.
Because he was the first. Zach Braff was kind of like the first person to do like a Kickstarter film, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, it was his like not sequel to Garden State, but like I guess it was like a spiritual sequel.
Spiritual sequel, I think. Yeah, I can't even remember which.
And I think it stars him as like a depressed guy again.
yeah, you know, the norm. And that's the last I ever heard of Zach Braff.
I know he's got a podcast with Donald Faison where they just rewatch every episode of Scrubs.
Yeah, which I hope is fun because it sounds depressing, if you know what I mean.
Scrubs is. I used to love it when it was first started, but I don't think I could rewatch it now. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's aged very well.
I've never even tried. It was fine. Have much.
I mean, most sitcoms are just in the
time.
Sitcoms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not many sitcoms that are just perpetual.
The ones that seem to carry on are Friends, Frasier.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Cheers maybe.
And The Office, not the British one, the American one.
I've never watched that. I need to give it a go.
It is brilliant. It is.
I think the British one is so well written, but I'd like to give the American one a go.
I really like it. It's become like it was a proper kind of like quarantine watch for me, just kind of going on and just putting on any episode of The Office. It's just kind of perpetually watchable for me.
Nice. Have you watched any films this week?
Yeah, I have. I've got one I want to rant about a little bit, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because I watched the new Mulan.
Oh, I actually heard that this has done really well for Disney. Apparently, it's
I don't believe streaming numbers, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Like in box office, it's done terribly, but that's because it hasn't been released anywhere on box office. But but streaming numbers are all private, so who knows? Like it's really hard to break that down.
Well, because I guess if that's a success, then maybe they might consider doing like Scarlet. What's it? No, not Scarlet. What the fuck's it called? The new Marvel film with Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow.
Oh right,
Like,
Scarlet, yeah, okay.
Scarlet Widow,
the Scarlet Pimpernel,
yes.
The new Disney film. Yeah, and just releasing it like that on a £30 rental or whatever it bloody is.
I wouldn't be surprised, but
I wouldn't be surprised either. But I really hated Mulan. I really hated it. Like I didn't even think I was going to hate it as much as I did. But like I really like the Disney Mulan film. I used to watch that a lot.
I think it's good.
It's a good film. It's got good songs in it. It's got a pretty damn good message, and the kind of twist in the cartoon where it like goes serious, it drops all the kind of like affectation of fun, and it has like a bit of an emotional turn on it. That's really well done. One of the first ones I remember that growing up to do a kind of serious turn in it. When you see how much like devastation the Mongols have done and stuff. This bloody film is a travesty. Like they're clearly towing like we can ignore there's issues about how they made it. There's issues about like the support they gave to the kind of genocide in China at the moment and stuff like that. Like, but as opposed to that, like this kind of weird towing the line between trying to be telling the kind of original Mulan fable and doing a Disney remake of the cartoon and then mashing them together in a way that doesn't actually work is really weird. The film is so po-faced because they don't have any comic relief in it that it's just a dredge to go through, really. Because they get rid of the animated dragon, they get rid of the cricket, so that and all those kind of fancy elements, it's gone. So there's nothing for her to play off in any kind of fun way. And really, what really annoyed me more than anything else is the whole point of Mulan is the fact that she trains with the rest of the army and becomes as competent as them as like a fighter as any man. and then becomes better, like she becomes like, and at the end of the film they actually flip it, and by embracing her kind of femininity is what wins the day. So it's kind of like it's saying, like, in a big rounded way that the whole spectrum of like gender expression is great, is kind of the point, and then empowers her. But the film it involves chi, it involves like energy, and instead of her just being a really competent person that learns how to fight, she's like a superhero that suppresses her chi.
Oh, okay.
And by kind of allowing herself to let out her chi is her winning the day. So there's no like empowerment in that message. There's no like, she was a fantastic fighter naturally because she's basically a superhero, and she was stopped suppressing herself and being a superhero, and by letting herself use her magic powers, that's how she won. That's not like any woman can join the army and fight as well as a man. That's completely not the message. And it's just like, this is crap. This is just absolute crap. And they remove all like.
Is that them just trying to? Because superheroes are just like, that's what makes money these days. Is that what they're just kind of they're trying to do?
I think it's the expression of the film, like they wanted Ang Lee to be the director originally. The expression of the film is like is it Wuhan? Wuhan? Like that kind of like wire work operatic fighting.
Yeah, like Crouching Tiger, that kind of thing.
Like Crouching Tiger. And because they make it that kind of fighting, I think they have to put in this idea of chi into it, to explain why they can kind of float and kick arrows and stuff like that.
Just do it.
Exactly, who cares? And and there's a really good video actually online. It's a Chinese film critic. It's called Accented Cinema, and he goes through the film and just tries to explain the fact that like all the Chinese elements to this are bullshit Western things. That like it's like a Westerner looking at China and going, "That's what China's like."
Right. Yeah,
and to them, it really feels like it as well.
Well, I read something about hugging. Apparently, like they hug in this film. And apparently that's like a thing in China that people don't really hug. This is what I read.
That's probably true. I don't know. That's probably
true. Like some people on Twitter who are Chinese were like going, "Well, this is bullshit because this is not what we do in our culture."
Yeah. And I think it's written for Westerners. It isn't. There isn't like a Chinese writer on it at all. And I think like that probably just shows to people. So it's this kind of like, it's not very satisfactory to a Western audience because it's getting rid of the Chinese cartoon, and it's not satisfactory to a Chinese audience. Sorry, it's getting rid of the Disney cartoon elements, and it's not satisfactory to a Chinese audience because it's not Chinese. It feels Western, like it feels like a pantomime of Chinese stuff. So I think it's a big failure, frankly. Really
I wonder if at Disney, like like how Marvel has Kevin Feige and then Star Wars has Kathleen Kennedy or whatever. I wonder if they're like live action versions of their animated films has like a person that's kind of in charge of all those, because it feels to me that they, not saying they should all have a similar voice, but you'd think they'd have some sort of visual connectivity. I don't know. I thought that'd be quite interesting if they did that, but they just kind of seem to be like just doing whatever the fuck.
It seems to be that people can just bring an idea to do producing to kind of Disney. Looking at the producers on this film, there's no one that stands out here as someone who like works with Disney that much. I don't know. Yeah,
someone deep faked the Lion King trailer with the characters actually looking more like the animated. The original. They're both animated, aren't they? But like the original version, and it looks 100% better.
There's the best song from Mulan is like "Fight Like a Man." I think it's called. Is it Be a Man?
Something like that. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that film, but
yeah, my brain's just empty today. And that's the bit in the film where they would have played that song is so boring. It goes on for so long. There's so much like shenanigans going on, and there's so much like there's no fun to it at all. And someone recut all that part of the film to the music in the original Mulan to like a montage, and it's so much fucking better. It's so much like, oh wow, this is what they should have just done. They should have just played a montage to a song. Just get a new recording artist to record the original song and put it in. It doesn't have to be in the, the characters don't have to be singing it.
They're all so long and baggy though. Like I've seen Beauty and the Beast, which again was just so boring.
Yeah,
and like they all seem so visually like over the top. There's like too much to look at, and that's the beauty with just the animation. They focus in what you're supposed to be watching and paying attention to, and like everything's streamlined because it takes so long to animate these things. They kind of everything's like just perfectly timed, ready, like with animatics and that before they do the animation. It's like which I don't think that they obviously don't do that with these live action films because live action is a different.
And it's long, it's easily 40 minutes longer, I think, or something like that. And
probably,
nothing.
Most of those Disney films were like 79 minutes, like 80 minutes, 90
hour 20,
max,
hour and a half.
Max,
Yeah.
And like I've seen Aladdin, and that was boring as well. Even though Will Smith, I thought did an admirable job.
Okay.
And the two leads were okay as Aladdin and Jasmine, but Jafar was terrible. And like the best bit at the end of Aladdin, the cartoon, is when he turns into a giant snake and stuff like that, and he's like wrapping around the whole castle.
Yeah.
Which is all fun visual stuff, and they do none of that.
Yeah. This has this obsession with it puts like a phoenix into the tail and stuff like that, and she keeps seeing a phoenix now and again that's guiding her path, and you're just like, why is this here? Why did they decide this was good? I don't understand. Anyway, don't watch it. It's crap. Don't pay for it.
I wasn't planning to.
I didn't pay for it. I just needed to see it. Let's put it that way. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Disney are coming and attack me. 30 quid? I don't get it. It's absolutely like they're kind of reasoning that if you went to the cinema with your kids, it would cost you more, and you buy food and everything like that, and parking or whatever you want to say. Sure, that's true.
But Liam at home doesn't want to pay 30 quid.
No, my TV is not a cinema. Me sitting there with my housemate with her phone out and the sun streaming through the living room and the phone going off and the doorbell ringing and me putting the kettle on now and again and the dishwasher going on ain't fucking like me paying 30 quid.
How could they do it then? What's the way then?
I don't know. I am not against like paying money to rent a film. I do it all the time on Amazon actually. So like I have Amazon Prime, but I pay a few quid to rent a film. I do that quite a lot. But 30 quid is just way too much above my budget. It's just not worth it. Nothing's worth that.
I guess Disney have got if Netflix can do films with Will Smith and that cost like $150 million, then and you don't pay any extra.
Yeah.
Surely Disney are able to do that. I don't.
They're not struggling for money.
Yeah, it's like. I tell you what though, even though I haven't finished it, The Mandalorian, Series 1, I watched the trailer for the new one. The trailer, I can't speak for the show, but the trailer looks very good. But obviously they're going to put the trailer yet. Obviously they're going to put all the the what do you call it, like the money shots in the trailer. But
yeah.
It is amazing how far TV has come, even though it's not technically TV, really, is it? But
I don't know. And I know I'm not a big fan of The Mandalorian, and I know I'm the only person who thinks that. But
no. I mean, look. I watched the first 4 episodes when they came out, and I haven't finished it, so I think that says
sure.
a lot. Sure. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate what I watched.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
But it just for some reason I wasn't like.
I'm not.
I don't know. It just wasn't compelled to watch. I think I just had that time. I think then was when Rise of Skywalker came out, and I just.
Yeah, sure.
Me and Star Wars don't talk at the moment, So. Maybe one day, but at the moment we're just we're seeing other people at the moment.
I'm struggling to care was my problem, and sure Yoda is very cute and kind of the show doesn't have anything if Yoda's not in it, or it's not even Yoda. I hate the fact they haven't named it. It annoys me so much. I hate the fact they won't just name it in the show, and they have to go out of their way to kind of say the child or. The artifact. They don't call him the artifact.
I'm sure you, as the Mandalorian, would be like, okay, your name's Trevor now.
They go out of their way not to talk about it. It really annoys me. And no one even goes like, so what is he called or anything. No one ever asks his name or anything like that.
The longer they build that up, and then when they finally reveal his name, people are like, well, that's a stupid name, isn't it? Like, the quicker you do get those things out of the way.
Yeah, everyone just gets used to it.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like building a mystery when there's no mystery to be had. It's just like, I don't get it. And he's like, what, is he meant to be, how old is he meant to be? 50? Isn't he meant to be about 50 years old? Yeah. So I think in those 50 years, he would have had a name by now. It would have come up at some point. Bearing in mind, he can use the Force quite well.
I do like the fact he's still a puppet, and you can tell in the trailer for the new one it's still a puppet. I do like that they've kind of kept that to it and stuff like that.
It's what makes him so cute. It is.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same if they didn't do that, and that it wouldn't have been so, just viral. Even people who haven't watched it were just obsessed with how cute.
Yeah, it's 100% got people on board who wouldn't normally watch Star Wars.
No.
Like, what are it's like Baby Groot. It's the exact same thing, really, isn't it?
But it's somehow it's taken off even more. What I was always surprised about as well is how unprepared they were for that. It came out just before Christmas, if I remember right. And there was no merchandise to buy for Baby Yoda.
They did that on purpose. I think they held back on it. Because they just didn't want spoilers getting out about it. Because if I remember, when it first came out, no one knew it was, the reveal of the Baby Yoda was at the end of the first episode. And I think they didn't want it to get out there.
Yeah, the amount of times, like, there's spoilers come out through, like, packaging.
Yeah, Lego toys and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't think about that.
So, yeah.
Have you got anything you want to moan about? You've watched the new Charlie Kaufman film on Netflix yet?
No, do you know what? I didn't even know there was one until I was listening to the Film Junk podcast this week. I was like, what the fuck? Have I just, like, been in a coma for the last God knows how long? Because I didn't even know this was coming out. And so I'm really keen to watch it.
Yeah, I was thinking I might watch it this weekend. I've got a bit of plan to watch it.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything. Because at the moment, I'm storyboarding a new music video. And from learning lessons from the last music video, I'm trying to be really like on it in the pre-production phase. So when it comes to animating, I'm like really on it. Because my problem is I jump head first into things. So like I just want to start animating straight away or whatever.
Sure.
Which isn't.
But then you
kind
of sat on set going, "What do I do next?"
Yeah, exactly. So you're sitting there going,
and you're wasting time. Then.
Which it's just because you're excited to kind of jump in. So I thought, no, I'm gonna properly storyboard the whole thing and properly do animatics and like properly just go through it properly, and then hopefully at the end of it I'll have even better video because it's it's well thought out,
tighter,
like,
and
like I'm definitely like I'm a blagger most of the time when it comes to my music videos.
Most people are.
But I want to try and be on it on this one. So yeah, I haven't really watched anything aside from Bargain Hunt, and I've played a bit of Tony Hawk's, and I've just got the new Super Mario 3D All Stars, so I'm sure I'm going to be on that.
Oh, nice. Nice.
But no, I definitely want to watch the new Charlie Kaufman film. There's a few other films I've got to watch as well that I'm looking forward to.
I've been trying to sit down and watch bloody First Cow for weeks now.
Oh, I've got
for some reason can't find myself around to doing it.
So what have I got to watch? I've got The Law, which is like the mermaid film.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
I've forgotten where it's from. It's a European film.
I've got The Rental to watch. Dave Franco directed film.
Oh, okay.
Like a horror. I think they rent out like an Airbnb or something, and it all goes wrong. I don't know. It sounds like a perfect thing for me to put on for a bit.
I've got Ready or Not, Happy Death Day 1 and 2.
Oh, I really like Happy Death Day.
Happy Joy Joy, the Ren and Stimpy documentary.
I didn't know that existed.
Which would be interesting because, like, what's his name? The guy who created Bill and
John Kay is a bit.
John Kay is not a nice person.
Talk about him. No.
Well, I know, like, a lot of animator friends, they go to the Annecy Film Festival every year. And
what's that?
It's just like it's like Cannes but for animation.
Okay.
And
is it in the same place all the time, or is it?
Yeah, in Annecy, yeah. And John Kay goes there quite often, but he's always with young girls and stuff like that, and everyone was just like.
He was always a controversial, weird, kind of angry guy, and I don't think and nothing that's come out about him has been surprising.
Well, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I think the first 2 series I think he did of Ren and Stimpy are great, but that's because he had restrictions and he was basically constantly fighting like back and forth. And I think you know, when you're a creator like that who's kind of wants to go a bit too over the top, you need someone to push back against you. Otherwise, the result is he did a show of Ren and Stimpy like in the 2000s, which I think it's got naked girls in and stuff like that, and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why does this exist? Ren and Stimpy is meant to be a kid show that's just a little bit weird.
Yeah, it was called Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon, wasn't it?
It was horrible. Like,
anything
you like about Ren and Stimpy was just zapped out of that, and it was just a man. Like, most animators are a bit pervy, and I don't mean that in like they're horrible lechy people, but you know, they like to draw their pretty girls and stuff like that.
Okay, sure, sure.
And you know,
I've drawn my fair share of sexy girls.
Yeah, but like there is like a limit, not a limit, but like there's, I don't know, you have some taste. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, have some taste. I think that's like anything you make. Yeah. And the guy clearly doesn't have taste. I think that's the problem. He doesn't have that kind of limit to him. And
it's like you only have to look at like Bruce Timm's sketchbook or Tim Sale's sketchbook, and all they draw is sexy fantasy women all the time. But they don't put it in their work.
They know where the limit is, and they don't argue about it. Yeah, that Ren and Stimpy cartoon show was cancelled after like 5 episodes or something, 6 episodes, and there's tons of unmade ones because they just went, no, we're done.
I'm not surprised. Did you hear though that the Venture Brothers got cancelled?
I did hear that as well, and they were just in production of their kind of 7th season or something.
8th, I think it may have been.
8th, yeah. They were kind of still producing it as well. I think it took them by a bit of surprise, which is really shitty.
Well, I mean, like, it started, 2004? So it's not like...
Yeah, it's 14 years old, yeah.
So it wasn't like they're bashing seasons out, every year.
No. I love that show. I really do, and I'll really miss it, actually. It was it was a lovely thing for every now and again, whenever it appeared, to have, like, 6 episodes of,
If you want to do, like, an adult cartoon that's how you do it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree. And it just they clearly didn't have the money that things like Rick and Morty have. Like, it just didn't make as much money, so they didn't have the money to put as much effort and time and people onto it to kind of get stuff out quicker. They kind of wanted to keep it between themselves.
Rick and Morty's more commercial. It's got that fun. It's got a more fun, cartoony look that kind of works as toys and it's like
much
just
more marketable.
Yeah, whereas Venture Brothers, don't get me wrong, I think the artwork's incredible on it, but it's like
I love it, yeah.
It's, I'm not saying it's an acquired taste, but it's more angled, and it's probably a bit more of an animator's animated show kind of.
I would say so as well. It's even though like Rick and Morty is a big, I think Channel 101 basically like Back to the Future joke. Like,
well, it was, wasn't it? That's how it started.
It was, yeah, it totally was. Venture Brothers is more of a kind of riff on those old cartoons, Doc Samson and
Johnny Bravo.
No, Johnny Bravo.
Not Johnny Bravo. What's it called?
Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest.
And and it needs you to know that. Like, the animation has to look like that. It needs you to know that, and because of that, it looks kind of like not as appealing. I think, in the way that you're trying to say, not as commercially appealing.
Yeah, I think Rick and Morty's just easier to kind of get into. It's just a young kid and his crazy granddad, whereas Venture Brothers is about an older guy who was in a team when he was younger, and it's a bit more of a backstory to kind of fathom.
Yeah,
he's got kids that aren't necessarily, they're like clone test tube.
I think it really helps.
It's really weird
if you've grown up with those kind of adventure cartoons.
Yeah.
It helps you kind of just start watching that show, I think. If you haven't, I think,
it definitely starts to get a bit crazier as it goes on and stuff.
Oh yeah. I love it. There's some of those episodes are so amazing. Like,
I mean, you've got like it's the one where it's got like a G.I. Joe team.
Yeah, the old G.I. Joe team.
Yeah.
So his father's team, yeah.
And it's got like who's the female kind of, isn't it Molotov cocktease or something like that?
Probably.
So, what year are we looking at today?
We're just at the end of our mini-series, actually, aren't we? This is 1979. So
the 70s. This 70s miniseries seems like it's been going on forever.
Yeah, it has been. But
it's been fun though.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, we're finally at the end, and 1979. So like, what 1979 film do you think of? Because there is a lot.
Yeah, probably Alien is the biggest one.
Yeah,
I can think of.
Alien's a game changer, though, isn't it? Like,
it's just it's like a 70s film that doesn't feel like a 70s film. It feels like, you know, it's. I'm not saying it feels current day or whatever, but it definitely feels separated from the 70s in terms of the way it's put together, the effects. Just it feels very much more modern.
You know, like decades obviously don't split. Like culture doesn't split by decade neatly. Despite what we're doing, but like I think the 70s break is kind of around 77, and like you have films that are like before that and after, really, in terms of like presentation. And Alien is definitely that. Yes, it was released in the 70s, but it's a modern blockbuster. It's a modern sci-fi blockbuster.
100%.
And it feels it. It still feels it today. I remember I saw it in the cinema about 10 years ago. It might be a little longer than that, and it was like I was seeing an entirely new film. It was, you know, it felt like it was a new release. It was terrifying in new ways. It was exciting in different ways. It was wonderful, actually, and Alien holds up so well.
There's a really good documentary about the making of Alien called Memory, which I strongly recommend. But it's quite fascinating, the story about Alien, like how Dan O'Bannon like wrote it, he like created it, like after doing Dark Star with John Carpenter.
And then, sure, yeah.
And I think he was the person as well that found Giger's artwork and stuff, and was like, this is what our Alien should look like, and that. And then I think the script pretty much got taken away from him. People tried to take his name off the credits and stuff like that. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. Like I feel like, even though, don't get me wrong, he had a great career, Dan O'Bannon did, but it felt like he had to fight and struggle to kind of keep his name on things and stuff like that. So.
Right. Because he did Total Recall, didn't he?
I think so. And I think he worked on Blade Runner as well. But again, I think he was fucked around with Blade Runner as well.
Blade Runner's got a really weird written history,
Yeah.
But yeah, like Ridley Scott is a complicated one for Alien, because as far as I can tell, he may be given a little too little big of credit for how the film is. Is that like a fair thing to say?
Well, I think he's definitely he's a filmmaker that's obsessed with texture, and I think that's the one thing that he really brings to that film. So, for example, when they get on the alien planet, like, and they go inside, you know, the ship with all the eggs and stuff like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like, it looks fantastic, but the thing is with Ridley Scott, he's only as good as the script.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he can elevate a good script, but if he's got a bad script, it's like, you know, it's just evident by. In my opinion, Prometheus, I think it looks amazing.
It does look amazing,
but it's a fucking awful film, in my opinion. But there's a lot of people who love that film.
I think the same as Covenant as well.
I think Covenant looks ugly though for one of his films.
I don't think it looked ugly, but
I just thought it looked very brown and just drab.
I don't know. It was I'm trying to think, and it's just not that exciting. No, I didn't like that. I don't like those new Alien films. And he's apparently doing it again anyway. And
he's doing another one.
The next one is nothing to do with Prometheus or Covenant.
What?
So
what's the point?
I know. And I don't. Who cares? Who cares? Like,
Alien to me, Alien, the first one for me is the best out of the lot, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I think the second one's really fun, and I enjoy it a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
But after that, for me, it's like Terminator. Like, stop trying to world build it. Stop it. Like,
well, I always put those two together, because like both of them are similar time period coming out around this time, when it's Terminator kind of just the start of the 80s, isn't it?
Well, they're both kind of slasher films, aren't they? Really, like,
yeah,
about
horror
just
slasher
people
films,
being
chased
like,
by something slower, and
like.
But like both of them, the big thing that's important with both of them is that James Cameron did the sequels for them.
Yeah.
And like James Cameron is a genius, no matter what you think of him. Like, in the fact that it's not easy to do what he did. He took like this horror film Alien and then made an action film as a sequel. He did the same thing with Terminator 2. He didn't just remake the first film. He twisted it on its head and made it kind of an action sequel. And because they seem so effortless that you just do this with this property. Of course you do this with property. It's obvious that that's where you go with it and it's going to be wonderful. Ever since those sequels, people have been just trying to do it again, and it's not easy. Like, and they keep and you can walk into any production office and say, Aliens, it was brilliant. Like, we'll keep pushing with this action stuff, and no one's ever been able to do it again in any sort of way. And yawn. I'm just so fed up with them. Every time they announce something new about Alien, I just don't care. I just don't care at all.
It's the same with Terminator, and they're like, "Look, we've got Arnie back," and it's like, "Oh, whoop-de-doo."
Great. Great. Why?
Wasn't Neil Blomkamp going to do an Alien film, and then Ridley Scott's Prometheus or Covenant, whichever one of those, kind of nixed that idea?
I think Neil Blomkamp nixed it a little bit. That guy's got no... he has not proven that he can handle anything, any budget or any film.
Well, like, District 13, is it
District 9?
There's another one called District 13, which I think is like a free-running film.
Oh, yeah, there is. You're
anyway,
right. Yeah.
So I always get confused with the title. But that was a really good film, I thought. But, like...
maybe hot take, I don't think it holds up. And I
haven't watched it for a while. But
I think it just about gets a film out of the short, in my opinion. It's one of those.
Has he only done 2 films since then? Chappie and
Elysium. And Chappie Chappie's a war crime. Like it's honestly one of the worst things that's ever been made. That's why he lost Alien. Chappie is bafflingly awful. It's very, very much one of the worst things that's ever been made.
Chappie's basic is it got Diane Wood in it, that like South African hip hop
yeah.
Who are insane. Like, if you ever watch that guy Ninja, like, he doesn't come across as a very nice person, but
sure,
they seem very odd. But
they're probably the best thing about Chappie. If I'm very honest,
probably because they're the most real thing in it. They kind
Chappie is I can't remember who said this. Is it Richard Lawson? I can't remember who said it. He basically has the Chappie test. And he says, like, you can tell a film's really good that if Chappie was in it, it'd still be a good film. Is it strong enough to take a Chappie being put into it?
Well, who did the voice for Chappie? Was it the guy that he always uses?
Yeah, Sharto Copley.
Yeah.
Who I like. I like Sharto Copley a lot. I really do. But
I think he's like a guy that you have to know how to use him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like because he does accents and stuff like that, and I think he can kind of get a bit much if you
get a bit much on it. But yeah, Neil Blomkamp was just like, I'm gonna make Alien a sequel to Aliens, and it's gonna be better than all the rest. I think that was his pitch or something.
Wasn't he gonna do a RoboCop as well?
I think he was. Yes, he was going to do RoboCop. RoboCop Returns, I think it was called. And yeah, it was going to ignore RoboCop 2 and ignore RoboCop 3. You know, the big thing people like to do now.
With RoboCop, like, I don't know what you do. What else you do with that property? Like, didn't
they
say
can't be a sequel to RoboCop? There can't be. The whole point of RoboCop is there can't be a sequel. Like, so I don't get it.
What else is there to say after RoboCop 1? Like, I don't get it.
They literally can't be, because like the end of RoboCop is he regains his humanity, right?
Yeah, but then they regress it.
Then they regress it. As soon as you put the helmet back on him, that's a sad thing. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing if he has the helmet back on. And I never get this about RoboCop.
Oh, it's almost like RoboCop now.
It's almost like people haven't seen it and just don't get that. That's like the whole point of it, is that he regains his humanity. So he isn't RoboCop. If he's RoboCop, then that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing. I always think this is about RoboCop. I can talk about RoboCop for a lot.
Right, what else came out this year?
RoboCop did. Now, the film came out this year, which is really good. I kicked the table. A film came out this year which is considered a masterpiece by absolutely everyone in the world, and people love it and will talk about it all the time and tell you how much of a masterpiece it is, and you have to watch it, and the filmmaker won't fucking leave it alone, and every single time he's touched it, he's ruined it more and more and more.
What's that?
Which is Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Apocalypse Now Redux is that is just atrocious.
I've
that when
never
he went
watched it.
and he goes like, well, you know how we all liked Apocalypse, and even though it's 3 hours long, it's really kind of engaging and it really drives you into this kind of hellish landscape. How about if it was 4.5 hours long and it just sits about in the camp for about 3 hours at the beginning? It's so weird that he won't leave Apocalypse Now alone, Mr. Coppola. And I think this year there was meant to be another Apocalypse Now come out. It won't because of COVID, but he's recut it again and again to release it again.
I know he's recutting Godfather 3.
Is it? Oh, good.
And they're recutting Rocky 4 as well.
What?
Like, why is that even a thing? And apparently,
why is that a thing?
Sly was like, "Yeah, we're getting rid of what's his
robot."
Whose robot is it though? It's
what is? Oh God, I can't remember the
what's
name.
His name?
It's his brother-in-law, whatever he's called. Yeah, I can't remember what he's called now. Are they really recutting the robot out of it?
Yeah, apparently they're getting rid of the robot.
Oh, who is putting up the money to do that? That's amazing.
Speaking of Rocky 2 came out in 79, yeah.
Rocky 2's fine, I think.
Rocky 2's good. Again, though, like, you're never going to get better than the first Rocky.
Yeah,
Creed
I can
was
see
great,
why
though.
you had
Creed...
to make a sequel.
I thought Creed was great.
Yeah, I love Creed. I didn't think as much of Creed 2.
I haven't seen it. So
Got quite bored of it, but Creed's great. What else came out this year? Let's see if you get this one. This is a good one. So, a director who ends up being an absolute icon of the world of animation releases his first film this year.
Is it Lupin or whatever? Castle of...
Yes, Lupin the Third.
Yeah.
The Castle of Cagliostro. Yeah,
Good
Hayao
film. It's a
Miyazaki.
good film,
first
that is.
film. It's a wonderful film, and
Yeah.
it holds up so well as well. Like, even if you don't know Lupin as a character of the film, you can just watch. And yeah, that's Hayao Miyazaki's first film, 1979. And it's wonderful. Watch that. Everyone watch that.
The Carl Reiner classic, The Jerk, came out as well.
Oh God, I haven't seen The Jerk in years.
I love that film so much. I don't need anything except for this lamp.
Steve Martin has got such a weird career.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I think. Did The Jerk do well though?
I don't know. I have no idea. No idea. I think so. But
Well, because he must have done quite well. Because didn't he do like 3 films with Carl Reiner? I know he did. After that, it was The Man. Was it The Man with 2 Brains or
Man with 2 Brains? Is that Carl Reiner as well?
Yeah, and then I'm not sure if Dead Men. Is it Dead Men Wear Plaid? Was it Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid?
You're evoking a lot of Steve Martin films I've never seen, I have to say.
Well, that one, I'm trying to think if it's called
Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is a film, and it is by Carl Reiner, yeah.
But basically, it's Steve Martin inserted into all like 40s gangster films and stuff like that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, yeah, it's really quite well done, to be honest. But your mileage may vary on it, but it is well done, well put together.
Oh my God, Carl Reiner did All of Me as well, which is another Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they worked together this much.
But I do love Steve Martin though. Like Parenthood's a great film.
I do like Steve Martin. His films are just a weird collection of stuff.
Which is the one where he's got the big nose. Is it Roxanne?
That's Roxanne, isn't it? Yeah.
He's the fire.
And like Three Amigos was an absolute joy for me. Planes, Trains, it's the same.
Yeah. Apparently, are they remaking that?
Oh, I did hear they're remaking it. Yeah.
And everyone was up in arms because it was like a black cast. I think it might.
Yeah, be. It's what's his face?
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Yeah.
Is it The Rock as well?
Probably. Who should we put this guy with? I don't know, The Rock. I watched Ride Along this week and I found it funny. There we go.
Who's in that one? Kevin Hart and The Rock.
Kevin Hart and oh God, my brain today.
Ice Cube, no.
Ice Cube. Is it Ice Cube?
Ice Tea.
It's Ice Tea.
Mellow Tea. I don't know.
You're gonna have to cut this out. It is Ice Cube. Yes, it is Ice Cube. I liked it. It was funny. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
You've got Life of Brian.
Life of Brian.
Muppets
movie comes out this year.
I love the
first
Muppets
movie, which is delightful.
Yeah, it's well.
And also, you get Star Trek: The Motion Picture comes out this year.
Oh yeah, which has a kind of relation to today's film.
That's why I mentioned it. Yeah, that was my segue. Like, because Star Trek the Motion Picture is bloody weird.
Yes.
I don't really like it, but I don't hate it. It's just, it was clearly, they'd seen 2001 and they were like, let's do Star Trek like that's 2001, and they spent so much money on it.
Well, just that end bit with Spock in just going through, and it's got all the trippy 70s visuals.
The trippy 70s visuals and everything like that. It's such a bizarre film, and they re-style them all. They don't look like Star Trek like uniforms anymore. They redraw the ship and everything like that and stuff. It is a long film. It's like 2 hours and a half or something. It's a slow film as well, and it didn't really do well in cinemas either. Because what the problem is that Star Wars had come out in between them starting this film and then releasing it.
Yeah. So well, this is what we want now.
Yeah, we want Star Wars. What is this like existential kind of trip into space?
Well, because how long had the series must have been over longer than 10 years since?
Oh yeah, because it only ran for 3 seasons in the 60s. It wasn't really that popular at the time. It was actually mainly got popular on like syndication more than anything else. So to kind of fix it, made enough money that they can still keep doing it. So to fix the kind of the kind of problems of Star Trek the Motion Picture, they hire on the director of like this film, Nicholas Meyer. Is it Nicholas Meyer the name?
Yeah, and I think to save costs, they reuse a lot of the effect shots as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And
Nicholas Meyer comes on board Star Trek. He takes the script on as well, because Nicholas Meyer's mainly a writer, even though he is the director as well. And he makes Wrath of Khan, and I would say that that changes Star Trek forever. Wrath of Khan
it's one of the.
It's
probably the best Star Trek film.
Yeah, it is. It is by far.
Didn't he do Undiscovered Country as well?
Was it? Yeah, the 6th film. Yeah, he did.
So I like
which
that.
is
that
also
one was
a great
right
film.
as well. Yeah.
I think I saw that in cinema with you. I think.
Yeah, we did. It was for Oliver Westbrook's birthday.
Yeah, that's a weird memory. And Undiscovered Country is brilliant, but he also wrote the script. He wrote the script of Voyage Home, which is the one when they go to San Francisco in the 80s to get a whale. Which is basically a lot of this film. It's today's film.
Is that the Shatner film? Is that the one Shatner directed?
I think it's the one Nimoy directed.
Oh, yeah, Shatner did 5, didn't he?
Shatner did 5, which is yeah.
I think Shatner only got that because he was like, well, I won't do it unless, like, if Spock can direct a film.
It was. Totally was.
But the thing is with Spock, though, like, he did 3 Men and a Baby, which was, like, one of the biggest films of that year, so he was a proven filmmaker.
Yeah, he was a proven filmmaker. Yeah, he can handle kind of a budget and everything like that, and handle the kind of set and the demands of doing such a big film. And 4, Voyage Home is wonderful. I will stand up for that film. It's wonderful. Like, and 3, not so much. Anyway, we weren't really talking about Star Trek, but Nicholas Meyer is coming off, like, that's the film he does after Time as well. He's going straight into Star Trek, so I just think that's kind of cool, really. But that's what we're covering today. We're going to cover Nicholas Meyer's 1979 film Time After Time.
The time is 1893, and novelist and inventor H.G. Wells invites you to join him on a flight from London to San Francisco. In under a minute, you will be transported to a bizarre and fantastic new age. Today, time after time. For H.G. Wells, the modern world offers a spectacular array of revelations, embarrassments, and delights.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
What's up, Doc?
I beg your pardon?
You were saying? Where to?
Could you please take me as quickly as possible to the Hyatt?
But Wells has not come here as a tourist. His visit will be somewhat more dangerous. For he is pursuing Jack the Ripper, a villain who has eluded his fate by escaping into time.
90 years ago, I was a freak. Today, I'm an amateur.
I'm obliged to take you back to face the consequences of your acts.
You take me back. How do you propose to do that? By force?
Be reasonable, John. We don't belong here.
a 19th century gentleman.
What?
You don't close your eyes.
And a 20th century woman
Well, neither do you.
join forces to capture a criminal from the past at large in the modern world. But even more than they want him, he needs them.
Throw me the key, and I'll release the girl.
On your honor, John.
You have my word as a gentleman. I would have expected that you'd notice by now that I am not a gentleman. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, Herbert.
You haven't instructed him in the use of one of these machines, have you? HG, it's checkmate, and you've lost again.
A romantic adventure, a breathless chase around the world and across a century. Time after time.
So this film's like film's based on a book, if you don't know that.
Yeah, it came out the same year, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, he actually kind of, I think the story goes that he was told about the book, or he spoke to the author about it, and he thought it was such a great idea that he just bought the script off, he bought the rights to the book. So, and he wrote
They were, like,
it
made at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, and just made it exactly the same time, yeah. So, like, I think the film actually came out first, before the book, but I can't remember. But
right, okay.
But yeah, Time After Time is a story about H.G. Wells in London, who is the famous H.G. Wells, the author, and he actually invents the time machine instead himself. And during a dinner party, his guest goes forward in time to run away from the police because he's actually Jack the Ripper. and then H.G. Wells chases after him, and they have adventures in 1979 San Francisco. That's the film.
So there's two things that sprung to mind when watching this. So one, it was kind of like the Terminator.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Instead of going back in time, they go forward in time. He's trying to stop the guy from killing everyone. So he's like, so Jack the Ripper's like the Terminator, and H.G. Wells is like Kyle Reese. And also, going back to Star Trek, it felt like they were on the holodeck, and they were living out some sort of fantasy kind of.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. I can get that. It's funny. It's a funny film. It's like because it's really. I think it's sold as a big adventure film, really, but it's not really. It's more like a romance film.
Yeah.
And I think if they'd sold it a little more on the romance element of it, that might be more accurate to actually what it was trying to do. Because there's not that much kind of Ripper action, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
So, did it do well?
I don't think it did very well. The box office was 13 million. I don't know what its budget was though.
Yeah.
I think it did okay-ish, really. But it's kind of, after that it became a bit of a cult kind of film, and a bit kind of well loved by people that have seen it, and I can see why it is really appealing. I can see why it's made that kind of cult status to it.
So it's worth noting that Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells.
He does, yeah. I think Malcolm McDowell's actually kind of interesting in this time period as well, because he's another film critic has likened him to oh bloody hell, Charlemagne.
Okay.
Charlemagne. Timothy Chalamet. That's his name, isn't it?
Wasn't that a song? I don't know, or a singer, or like I don't know.
It's an early medieval king of France. It's what I'm saying. The first early.
Well, so he'd done like If and Clockwork Orange and stuff, hadn't he?
He was this really, really thin, really like kind of screen lead who was clearly a leading man, but not really taking these leading man roles as such. He and because of Clockwork Orange, he'd kind of been then pushed into this mold of having this weird air about him, this kind of menacing, odd air about him. And after Clockwork Orange, he then does Caligula, and he plays the title character in that, which is an incredible kind of, weird screen presence and sexy and political satire and everything like that. I think very famous unsimulated sex scenes in it and stuff like that and things. A Tinto Brass film. But he was, after doing Caligula, which I think Malcolm McDowell considered quite a big weight on his shoulder, really shooting that film. For him to be given this script, which was much more romantic and light-hearted and fun, he just jumped at the chance to play something that was just appealing to him, right? Which I know this might sound silly, but I wouldn't recognise Malcolm McDowell in this film unless I knew it was him. I don't know if you did.
I mean, he's one of these actors that doesn't quite. If you look at him now, he doesn't look like the same person. Whereas if you look at David Warner, who plays Jack the Ripper, you can see you can see he's still the same person. Whereas Malcolm McDowell looks very different. Even in comparison to Clockwork Orange, he looks different in that to he does in this. And I suppose he's got the moustache and he's the glasses and the hair, so he's kind of disguised a little bit and stuff. But
and he's putting on an accent and a voice and stuff like that as well. To kind of hide it a little bit. But Malcolm McDowell's I like him. I like he's one of these actors who never stops working. Every year he's got 7 films coming out and stuff. I just don't get how he does it.
I just don't think he's in films that have massive productions and they're just kind of he's just a working actor, isn't he? He's just happened to have been in some big and one of the most controversial films that came out in the 70s and kind of carries you through, doesn't it?
Yeah, you already spoke about him. David Warner plays Jack the Ripper in this.
And also, he wears the most amazing costume in this later on. He has a denim waistcoat on with a black turtleneck and some denim flares.
The obsession in this film about his money belt is the weirdest thing to me.
It's a good bum bag.
They keep going on about it, and they even have him suiting up with it. It's the back costume suiting up with his money belt. I don't know why it was so big. But David Warner's a absolute, I don't know, presence in British television.
Oh
and stuff and he's just a.
Was he in Tron as well? Wasn't he Dillinger in Tron?
He was in Tron, yeah, and I really remember him from Time Bandits as well.
Yeah.
Which was after this as well. When he played, I think, is it just called Evil in Time Bandits?
I think so. Yeah.
And then Mary Steenburgen playing.
I love Mary Steenburgen. I love her.
I love her so much. She's wonderful.
Did you know? I only found this out. Apparently, in the mid to late 2000s, she hurt her arm or had to have a surgery on her arm, and then all of a sudden she started to play music.
Yeah,
and now she got signed to Universal Records and does all country music and stuff like that. And I was like, how did I not know about this until today?
I know because she wrote the songs for Wild Rose, and everyone thought she was going to win the Oscar for that year for the best song, but they didn't nominate it for some reason. She won the Critics Association Awards for Best Song and stuff, but didn't get nominated for the Oscar. But that's how I know about her doing that. Yeah.
But I've always liked her as a presence in film. I already spoke about Parenthood. She's Steve Martin's wife in that. And
yeah, she is,
obviously as kids we watched her a lot in Back to the Future.
Back to the Future 3. I always think of her as Clara. Yeah.
Like I said to you earlier today, that we could fanfic a version where in this film she goes back to the Wild West and meets another time traveler. But
yeah, she has a great run because she does Going South before this with Jack Nicholson. Yeah. And then she does this time after time, and then after this is Melvin and Howard, the Jonathan Demme film,
right?
Where she gets nominated for an Oscar for that, and I think does she win it? Yeah, she does. She wins Best Supporting Actress for Melvin Howard. So like that for the first 3 films, that's good going. Like
there's a film I want to watch for Christmas. It's called One Magic Christmas. It's like, again, it's got like time travel elements in it and stuff like that, and it's got Harry Dean Stanton in it as well. So
cool.
We've got to bookmark that and do that for Christmas. But you know, she was in Philadelphia and
yep.
And like Elf. I don't know about you, but I got like as Malcolm McDowell's like bumbling his way through San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of Elf because you've got the scene with Will Ferrell kind of bumbling around New York for the first time, and he's like, "Ooh, television, wow!" And he's like, everything's like amazing.
Yeah, that's true. Any kind of like any of that kind of out of their element kind of world stuff. And she's also really good in Last Man on Earth. If you ever watched that sitcom. Yeah,
the one with
Will Forte.
Will Forte, yeah. MacGruber.
Yeah, it's MacGruber. Yeah, it's really, really good. I love her in it. And she's the best person, and she's married to Ted Danson.
Yeah, and she was married to Malcolm McDowell before that. Obviously he wooed her during this.
Yeah, it was, absolutely. When he talks about this film, he says that like he's got massive fond memories of it because he fell in love during filming it. So and then he ended up, marrying her.
You can see why though. She's a dream. She's lovely.
And she's just so like that accent is just the best thing in the world.
And she's incredibly horny in this film.
She is incredibly horny in this film. Like that incredibly.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Like it's not like an amazing film, but it's definitely like, like how you will watch, say, like a Tony Scott film, like I don't know, like Deja Vu, and it's just like a film you put on, you're like, I enjoyed that, but I'll never think about it again. And I think this is kind of like that. It's kind of just an enjoyable kind of romp. It had good music though. I like the music as well. That was good.
Great music. They had this thing that the Ripper's got a watch during most of the film. It plays like, I don't know why it's a musical watch. It never really goes into it.
It's like we've got a band.
Yeah.
Like the song band.
And and it plays music, and then later on the composer, who's a very famous composer that I'm forgetting his name now. Nicholas
Mikos Rosas.
Rosas. He takes that kind of little music box element and then twists it to it sounds really evil and really kind of menacing, and it takes over the whole score as well. I thought that was so cool. Like I just like I kept on noticing doing that in the soundtrack, and I just thought it was so cool. And I really enjoyed that. But yeah, all the stuff about him going around San Francisco and like having McDonald's and things, it's just the best.
Well, I mean, the composer he worked on, he did Ben-Hur, El Cid. He's done like massive films back. He seems like a proper like composer from the old school, like the old days.
Yeah. It really elevates the film for me. Actually, I kept on noticing 100%. the composition and the music and stuff, and really thinking it was good. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jack the Ripper as well.
Okay.
Like, as like a cultural person, because like they do this a lot in this film, and it kind of annoyed me a little bit. But the whole thing of the film is that the fact that H.G. Wells is this futurist, and he thinks the future's going to be
utopian,
utopia and stuff like that, and that's legitimately what H.G. Wells thought. But like they kind of frame the 1970s as being more kind of evil than the 1880s or 1890s. And
yeah,
it's not true. Like it isn't true.
If I was Mary Steenburgen, I would not want to go back to Victorian England.
No, and like no, not at all. Like, but they frame it as like an age of gentlemen, and everyone's very nice and respectable, and no evil ever happened apart from this one killer called Jack the Ripper, like the only person ever to murder someone, who invented murder in like 1888 or something. Like, it's just so, it's like, that's not true. Like,
so,
but no, go on.
No, I was gonna say the character she plays is actually H.G. Wells' real. Well, the name anyway is his real wife, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's okay.
So when they do at the end, where you see the credits where it says, she died in 1927, he died in 1949. That's actually true. And
okay.
She was his second wife, and yeah.
We should talk about HG a little bit as well as a person.
Yeah, sure.
But like, going back to the Mr. Ripper, what I always find interesting about him, because like the reason he's like the first serial killer, the reason that everyone knows his name is because of two things. And one was there's basically an act that forced teaching reading and writing to everyone in the country in like about 1880 or something like that, and it just meant that
about that time people were able to read the story.
Were actually able to read. Yeah, everyone was, not just some people. But also the Publications Act meant that newspapers started being really big around 1850. So those things combined meant by the time like 1880 comes around, 1890 comes around, everyone can read and newspapers are everywhere and affordable. So like the reason everyone knows about Jack the Ripper is because he was just the first person to be killing in a mass way when the media kind of starts and actually can be read by everyone around 1890. And like they realise that it sells papers. There were papers that used to just cover murders. They were called like the Police News, and it used to just tell you what crime was going on. But they used to illustrate them as well. Like, so they used to illustrate the crime scenes and things like that in the papers and stuff. So when they heard about this killing, which was explicitly very gruesome, like, and the Ripper killings are incredibly gruesome. I don't think we really get how horrible they actually are. I think because of like the way he's used in media, we kind of always forget a lot about the details. He's just was killing people, but like they were very gruesome. And he was originally called like leather jacket or leather cloak or something. They first started calling him, and the idea that he was like a butcher, and then eventually they realized this is selling papers, so they start just like leather apron, and then they realize this is selling papers, so just start just pushing him, inventing details about him, stirring up like xenophobia. There was always, basically he was foreign or Jewish was who the killer must be. And it just sold papers with so much like zest for it that he became like just the biggest celebrity of the time, really. And even today we still think of like Jack the Ripper and Ripper is a murderer and stuff. And I just always found it interesting.
Well, I guess as well, he's like, it's because no one ever knew who he was as well. So there's still that air of
mystery and stuff, yeah.
Kind of. So he's ripe for stories and stuff like that. Oh, who could he be? Like, like From Hell.
Yeah.
Like, where they kind of have like isn't it? There's not just one. There's like isn't like a few of them in that, and it's kind of like a cult kind of thing. I can't quite remember, but
yeah, no, you're right. But that's the thing. That's actually starts happening around the 1970s as well. Well, not starts happening, but like the lots of theories start coming out about how he was like an upper class person around kind of like, I don't know, let's say 60s. I might be wrong with that date, but like instead of him being like a foreigner who's coming to killing everyone, he starts being a member of the establishment killing everyone. So you get ideas that he was like related to the king. You get ideas that he was some like high surgeon, which is what they do in this film, and it's the idea of like kind of the upper class exploitation of the lower classes, and that's really popular around the 60s. So like by the time 1970 comes around, you've got this perfect storm of the Ripper being a big cultural icon again for some reason, and you start getting books coming out. There's a hoax diary called The Diary of Jack the Ripper. You start getting films and kind of other books coming out, and people start, and I think there's a book comes around called Ripperology, starts coming around about the 1970s, where everyone is talking about Jack the Ripper, who he was. There's new theories, there's new ideas about who he was, and he starts becoming in like tons of like fictional films. So you get the Sherlock Holmes film that he's chasing Jack the Ripper in, which the name's gone on my head again, but whatever. And you get two of those coming out in the 70s as well. So by the time they're using it in 1979, the Ripper is a big cultural kind of media figure again. And it's just funny for me that all these things come together to make this kind of film.
Right.
Sorry, am I?
So I was just taking all that in. But yeah, so it's quite interesting what they do with H.G. Wells in this, though, because so I'm assuming that he will become the writer that he's supposed to be, but before he is the writer, he creates this time machine, and that's where he gets a lot of his ideas from traveling to the future or something. Is that what they're trying to say with this film? I'm not.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they don't really say he's an inventor or a scientist, do they? He's somehow just Do they?
Yeah, the idea where I wish I'd researched this better, but the idea of the time traveler in the time machine is H.G. Wells is a thing that appears in pop culture at some point, and then we start just reproducing it, and maybe this is the first one to do that.
Yeah, because the character doesn't have a name in
exactly in the book. He doesn't have a name. Yeah,
time machine. So he's just the narrator or the time.
Yeah,
traveler,
the time traveler or something. He is. Which is his first book was The Time Traveler as well, which comes out just around the time this film's set. And because of that, like every time they've had to name the time traveler in kind of films or adaptions, they always call him something like George Wells or something like H. George Wells. I think he is in the 1960s film.
What's he in the Pierce? I was going to say Pierce Morgan. What's his name?
What?
No, there's the film from 2002 with the guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think what he's called in that. He's called Alexander Hartgoon. I can't pronounce it. Hardigan. Anyway.
Hardigan?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why they try and name him if he hasn't got a name, but yeah, I think like that starts becoming a bit of a meme about the time traveler that it actually was H.G. Wells all the time, and maybe this is the first film to do that. I don't know. Maybe it is the first one to do it. Is this?
But I guess it's like a lot of writers or filmmakers. You look at Inception and Leonardo DiCaprio is pretty much he's Christopher Nolan in that film.
Sure.
From the way he dresses, the way he looks, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that creators do. They put themselves in their stories, don't they? So.
And what was kind of weird about H.G. Wells, at least at the time, because he's a prolific writer in England, is that he never really considered himself a sci-fi writer. He always considered his sci-fi books actually like his lesser known works. He wrote a lot of like drama and a lot of social stuff. He wrote especially a lot of social stuff about like classes and things. And I always remember that he spoke about the Wells adaptation of it, the radio adaptation of War of the Worlds. And he spoke about that book, and he always says that it's nice that Orson took his lesser known work to do a radio play on. And it's funny to me that in about 1949 he considered War of the Worlds his lesser known work, which today if you asked anyone to name
it's what they know.
It's what they know. They don't know anything else. Maybe the Time Machine, Invisible Man, Island Dr. Moreau maybe, but they're all his sci-fi works. People wouldn't name his kind of like, I don't know, the History of Mr. Polly, I think it was one of his books, or like the Passionate Friends and things. He considered his bigger thing. He never really considered himself a novelist. He considered himself a journalist as well, which you get in this film. Actually, he talks about that in the restaurant. He says that he writes about issues in the papers and stuff like that. And he's one of these figures that I think a little too much is put on him. People are always like, he invented the tank and he invented the internet and stuff. And also like they'll say like he invented women's lib or he invented like socialism, and it's not true. He wasn't the only person in the 1880s talking about like social issues in that way or talking about women in that way. But because he was one of the most prolific writers, I think a lot of people think that he was, invented them almost. But he seems like a good guy, I guess, from history. I don't know. It's a weird...
I mean, they put that into the film, though, don't they? So when he's having like his big dinner with all of his, colleagues and stuff like that,
they're all taking the piss out of him, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but he talks about this, doesn't he? And then talks about in the future how men and women would be equal, there'd be no disease, there'd be no war, and you're like,
you're all like poppycock. What you on about, like young man? And I found it really funny to think of him as a romantic lead. I don't know why that was funny to me. Like he just seems like he's just an old Victorian. It's funny for him to be portrayed to me as a quite attractive man in San Francisco. Someone you meant to kind of like think that he can just pick up a date by walking into a bank.
Especially how she falls for him. Like she proper falls head over heels
falls heavily for him. Yeah.
Did you know they did a TV series of this like a few years ago?
Oh really?
And you can see how they would. I don't see how it would hold the concept for much longer than like 10 episodes though. Like I don't know what you do beyond that, but.
Well, I guess what I was surprised about this film is there's no time travel in it. Well, I mean, like apart from just the one, they go to San Francisco is basically the end of time travel.
No, he travels 2 days ahead.
Oh, that's true. I did forget about the 2-day visit. Yeah.
Which really annoys me, and I'll tell you why later on.
Okay. We'll go through the plot a little bit. But how does it start? How does this film start?
It starts in Victorian England, where
no, it starts with the Warner Bros logo, the red Warner Bros logo,
yeah,
which I thought was really fucking cool, and I like that a lot.
But then it goes to the modern one as well. Then
it does the Shield, yeah. And I read a review of this film from the 70s, and they were really excited that they'd put the Shield back in before the film. So. So apparently it must have been the Shield must be the old thing. Then they switched to the red logo, and then they switched back to the Shield around.
Which is funny now because filmmakers like to put the
red logo in.
Yeah.
Like
I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the Batman. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they use that.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah, absolutely. Because it was in Joker, wasn't it?
I think I think so. Yeah.
Oh God, we're nerds.
But well, you only have to listen to the last episode.
I could talk about studio logos all the time. I love them.
My favourite is though when they Mars attacks and they'll have like the UFO like spinning around it. Or do you know what I mean? They kind of.
I love films that do like a special logo intro or something.
Yeah.
Like do something special with it. That always gets me excited. Like if it blows up or something.
The best bit of
the bat sign.
The best bit of the Simpsons movie is where you've got Ralph just singing the 20th Century Fox theme.
That was the highlight.
Yeah, that is the highlight of that film. 'Cause it's rubbish other than that. So yeah, but after that, basically, it's Victorian England and
1893. Or something.
I assume a lady of the night has just been with a client and
Jenny. I love this lady.
And then
she's been very high on the gin.
Yeah, then all from POV. She encounters Jack the Ripper, doesn't she?
Yeah,
which it's quite well done actually, and you see his hand like a video game kind of first person kind of thing.
It was like those those live, those film video games that used to exist.
Yeah,
when
Hardcore Henry.
Is that no? Like Gunsmoke or something was it called? Where like all the interactions were filmed.
Oh like Night Trap or something like that. Like on the Saturn.
Yeah. Yes. So then when you like activate a scene, it just cuts to this kind of person talking to, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like it was like that. Like, and she is. She identifies him as a man dressed in very fine clothes and stuff like that. Like, which is all doing the kind of he's an upper class killer stuff, and. He takes her to an alley and rips her, basically. That's the end of that.
Yeah.
It's not very gory. It's not... You don't really see much or anything like that.
The blood's fairly tame throughout the film, really, isn't it? And even
it was a bit later when you see an arm.
Yeah, but it still looks like just like a plastic arm on the floor, doesn't it? And then the blood is that 70s kind of poster paint.
Yeah, glowing the dark blood. Yeah. They introduced a stopwatch in that scene. He gets a little stopwatch out and he keeps giving her coins. And then it cuts to H.G. Wells having a dinner party, and he's lecturing all his friends about socialism, and they all take the piss out of him. Going, "Oh, H.G., you are inventive," I think is the term.
And then I guess what's Jack the Ripper's name? Is it John?
John Stevenson. Yeah, John Leslie Stevenson.
So I'm guessing he's got a long-standing chess game with him.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, they do play at the chess thing at this point, don't they?
Then like. They play a little bit of that or just continue on their game.
They do a bit of vocal sparring, don't they? I always know what you're going to do,
I mean, we all know who he is straight away. I don't know if they're trying to hide it or if...
No, I don't think they are.
Yeah, because he's talking about how, humans are, we're just savages and,
Yeah, we're just savages who have to kill. And H.G.'s like, no, in 1979 we'll all be wonderful. Utopia.
I want to know why you picked that. So anyway, so the police somehow... I love the police in this film, like in that alleyway scene, though, because they've got... Like, it's a proper Bobby with a cape and the whistle, and I love that image.
I love it. Holding the torch thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. I think...
What brings them to the house? Why do they come to the house, particularly?
Ollie, very good question.
Because they're just there, and you're like, hang on a minute, what's led you to think...
They don't think he's there. They're like, oh, Mr. HG, as an upstanding gentleman in this neighbourhood, we have to personally tell you that there's been the Ripper has struck again, and it's in your own neighbourhood. That's kind of why they turn up.
Okay.
And all the dinner party people are like, oh my God, we must tell everyone in the house, and then they can't find. And then John's disappeared by that point. And we've not introduced the time machine.
Yeah, because he basically says, I'm going to time travel. Here's my time traveling device.
He introduces his time machine to all his guests at the dinner party, and then they go through excruciating detail the way the time machine works.
Do you know my favourite thing? Okay, so there's so many details on this machine.
Yeah.
That he's the one guy's gravitated to this one little golden. There's loads of little golden trinkets all around it, and he just pulls out and goes, "So what's this?"
What's
it's like,
this?
What,
Yeah.
How did you know that you could pull that? Like,
why did he know that one could be pulled out?
Like, and it's just like a cosmic key, and they don't really explain it. It's just
God! So yeah, he there's two keys, isn't there? So there's the one key itself that you put in the time machine in the cockpit.
In the ignition.
That if it hasn't got a key in, it's a homing device. So it just returns back to its designation. This is very important for the film, otherwise nothing makes sense. And then the little kind of weird stick that you pull out the side of it is the vaporizing equalizer, which it makes if that's not in the machine, that means you travel in time without the time machine.
Right, okay, so you're just in an infinite void of space and time.
Yeah, you're just lost wherever you go or something like that, basically. I did like he says here that it takes 2 years a minute to travel.
Yes.
I really like that speed. And and the way you navigate through time is you turn west for tomorrow and east for yesterday, which I thought was very nice. That might actually be from the book itself. It's been years since I read it.
But obviously he sets up this exposition so that when John is trying to hide from the police, he travels.
He knows how to use it.
Travels to 1979.
But it's also for the audience, so you know exactly how this has worked. It's really big exposition stuff. It's just all about rules at this point. I did like I thought it was weird that the time machine didn't actually look like the time machine from the book that much. And I wondered, because the time machine, the film, came out not too long before they made this, and I wonder if they were just trying to, give it a more modern looking...
There's definitely some details that are similar, but the other one, it's more like a carriage. It's like open top, isn't it? And
it is. It's basically like a chair with a clock behind it with loads of fiddly
There's definitely
stuff,
some details, but I just think they wanted to kind of tech it up a bit. I mean, it's quite fascinating that Back to the Future's only 5 years after this, and the effects are it's night and day, miles ahead. It's so insane.
I kind of enjoyed the special effects in this.
I did in a way. The rotoscoping was hilarious. When they kind of cut around people where they're doing the little kind of flashy effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're just basically like someone scribbling light over the frame. I don't know how they're doing it, but I liked it. I thought it's kind of fun.
But when H.G. Wells discovers that the time machine's gone and then it reappears again.
Yeah.
He then jumps in it. Well, no, first he grabs a load of money and then grabs his maid's earrings. He's like, I need these because I don't know what currency they'll have in the future.
I forgot to say, talking of fictional H.G. Wells's, my favourite fictional H.G. Wells is Superman, Lois and
I forgot about that because he has the time machine. I was just thinking about that because I remember him outside in the broad daylight.
Yes.
In this
and he's working with Superman to fight Tempest or something like that. Is he called some time traveling, and it's H.G. Wells is
in my head. I kind of want to say it's the guy from Hackers, but it's not as H.G. Wells as the villain, but I don't think it is.
What, Fisher still?
Yeah, he pops in my head. I don't know why. I don't think it is him, but
I'm gonna have to look him up. Tempest is played by Lane Davies. Wells was played by Hamilton Camp, who was a singer-songwriter in America. Lane Davies is a guy you've seen in everything. If you look at his face,
Lane Davies. Yes, yes, yeah. I know him.
I hate to inform you, but LaneDavis.com is no longer
active. Oh. Anyway, So yeah, he
everything.
travels then to the future because it's kind of like the DeLorean where you kind of see like you put in the details of.
Yeah, it went on forever. This time traveling scene did.
Don't you think it was like a Windows Media Player, yes. Like just the visuals? It went on for ages. It was so long.
Went on for so long. And he ends up in San Francisco for reasons that I don't know.
Well, I guess he ends up wherever the vehicle is. So
is in the future.
So it was moved to San Francisco, so he appears back there. So if you watch, he kind of shifts, doesn't he, directions and stuff?
Yeah,
so maybe they kind of do that. That's kind of saying, well, he's moved over there instead of being static. There.
Which I'm guessing is in San Francisco because that's where they wanted to shoot it. That's where I don't know.
It's where they got their tax break. I don't know.
It's where they got tax break. I don't know. But he's in San Francisco, and that's great.
And who's the first person he meets? It's little Corey Feldman.
Oh yes, yeah. Tiny Corey Feldman is in the museum, and he looks like Corey Feldman.
I was gonna say, we know how we're talking about Malcolm McDowell doesn't look like Malcolm McDowell now. Corey Feldman, you can always tell it's Corey Feldman, or Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood's another one.
Elijah Wood's the same in Back to the Future. Like Corey Feldman's like 8 in this or something, isn't he?
He's even younger than that. Like it's his first film. Yeah. Well, he's not even 50 yet, so.
God, isn't he?
No. So he was quite.
Yeah.
So if this film's 40 years old, he would have been about, I don't know, what? 6, 7, 6, I don't know.
Young boy.
Young boy.
Got big mushroom hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in like the H.G. Wells Museum in San Francisco because they have a H.G. Wells Museum. Famous San Franciscan H.G. Wells. But I like this bit. This is part of the film I like the most. Because he's like getting used to kind of the modern world, and he's looking around everything, and he goes to McDonald's, and I really like to go to.
I love that when he goes, "I'll have it." He copies the guy, and he goes, he spots tea, and he's like, "And a tea."
Yeah, he goes, "Big Mac fries and a tea, please."
I can't. That would be a horrible meal. You can't have tea with, like
tea with McDonald's a lot.
Tea with like a proper meal doesn't. You have tea with cake or a biscuit. You don't have it with like savoury food.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
I disagree.
Afternoon tea you have with cucumber sandwiches and stuff.
No, I can't do that.
You're uncomfortable.
Well, I don't like cucumber, to be honest. It's basically solid water. I don't like it.
That's called ice. This is the worst episode we've ever done. Next, I like that he likes the fries and he calls them pommes frites.
Oh yeah,
and he likes the table.
He's like, it's pommes frites, and then he's hitting the table.
Pommes frites.
I've never seen wood like this before.
Yeah. This and is great, and he's for some reason why I don't know why he does. He's obsessed with banks.
But he's just trying to. Is it to do with his money? He's trying to get a better deal for his money. I don't know, like his old currency.
I guess he assumes that the Ripper has to change money as well. They're very obsessed with the Ripper's money belt in this film.
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as they go to the British consulate later on, then
yeah.
Or the British bank, not the consulate, it's the British
Bank of England.
Bank of England, yeah. But like, I like how he's drunk all of a sudden in one scene. He's got his little flask,
yeah,
and he's walking up the hill, and he gets to the church, and he's like, I don't believe in you, but can I stay here?
Oh yeah, they make it very clear that he's an atheist, which I thought was funny as well.
Yeah, but then later on, he mentions something like, as God as my witness, or something like that.
And then the priest kicks him out, which I did find funny.
He goes to
the Bank of England.
Goes to the Bank of England, meets
Mary.
Mary, yeah.
Who's called Amy.
Yeah, who she gives some nice exposition, because he's like, have you met a man here, like another British gentleman trying to change currency?
I did meet a gentleman. He had a money belt with loads of money. Why are they so like, you know how, I don't think this, in America, you know how money doesn't go out of date? like it does here.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't take our money to America in the 70s and change it at a bank. Because it's not legal tender anymore. Because our money gets expired when they do new stuff. It also was different money in 1896 because they changed the money in like the 60s.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm thinking too much about this. It annoyed me anyway. It was constantly annoyed me that he was trying to change this money that would just be like, this is antique. You need to take it to like a pawn shop or sell it as an auction. You can't just change it at the bank. But anyway, no one cares about that. They like changing it.
He does try and sell the earrings,
tools.
doesn't he? Because he goes to like an antiques dealer and he's like, I need to see your papers, your driver's license or whatever. And then like he's obviously asking about what's the World War. Like, I don't know about this. And then obviously he's a Holocaust survivor because he's got like the
he's got the tattoo hasn't he? Yeah. That's a weird bit.
He was a bit of a weird bit, but
very real section. She tells him to go to the Hyatt, doesn't he?
Yeah, because that's
the thing.
He's at.
He goes, for some reason she knows that, he's at the Hyatt.
Well, because she recommended it, didn't she?
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And the Hyatt in San Francisco is in a ton of films. I really recognised it, all the lifts and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, it looks quite a big place, doesn't it? It looks massive.
Yeah. But the Ripper is doing all this kind of like, he knocks on the door.
He's like, breakfast.
Yeah, he pretends to be room service, which I didn't know they had in the 1890s. He knows the play. And the Ripper opened the door, and then they have a big conversation about how, like, the era is so evil now, and I used to be the only evil person, but now I am just an amateur.
Watch Yosemite Sam.
Yeah. Look, danger on the TV. But you do get it. I mean, I was going to say the big thing that happening during the 60s, 70s is you get a lot of serial killers and they become really big news. And you get like stuff like, Ted Bundy's the 70s.
Dahmer and stuff like that. Was that 80s?
And Dahmer's around the same time. But you get like the Zodiac Killer is exactly this time. But you also get like in England, you get the Yorkshire Ripper is the same thing as well. So you see all this kind of pop culture views in kind of serial killers and kind of especially the Ripper.
Who were the kid killers as well? Ian, what's his name?
It's Yorkshire as well, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah, I've forgotten their name. Margaret and I've forgotten.
I can't remember names. I'm not very good at murderers.
Anyway,
very good at
they have a scuffle, and then room service just comes barging in.
Oh yeah. And saves his life, I think.
Yeah.
And they have an incredible
chase sequence.
I love this chase sequence. When they're both on a little bridge across like the highway and they keep going the other way and they keep trying to like...
Yeah, it's one of those ones where they stop and then they look down or they look up and they see each other.
Yeah.
And they just run again.
And then he goes on a date with Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah, they go to the cinema. They go to...
Oh, they do go to the cinema, don't they? And he's scared of the cinema.
He's eating yogurt or ice cream as well at some point. And,
yeah, they go to a rotating restaurant, which I was obsessed with rotating restaurants growing up because of...
I'd love to go. Have you been in one?
No. I don't think... The one they're in is not... It doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know if there was more than one rotating restaurant.
I swear,
they always use the one.
You know the Bullring in Birmingham? Originally, there was plans, I'm sure... I could have made this up, but I'm sure there was originally... When they did that, they were going to do a rotating restaurant at the top, but it got nixed.
They should do a rotating restaurant at the Rotunda, because then it'd be...
That's what I mean, the Rotunda next to the Bullring, sorry.
I don't know. I just always got obsessed with rotating restaurants, and especially like The Simpsons always showed rotating restaurants and things like that. They always showed them as like fancy, but actually not fancy. Like people think they're fancy, but they're not. They're kind of shitty. And I think that's one of my favourite things. It's like I like hotel bars that like people try and pretend they're fancy with all the wood efforts and stuff like that, but actually they're really depressing, and it's just full of like a lot of people on their own because they're in a hotel with kind of a bit of a crappy lounge singer as well. And the same thing. I think I like rotating restaurants for the same reason I like hotel bars. She basically, they start talking about America now, don't they? And they, I liked this joke. That it's like a joke on Americans because she asks him if he knows her friends in London.
Yeah.
There's
some weird. I don't know if they're gay jokes or what, but like back in the bank, like she goes, well, at least he's not gay, and then
yeah.
And then later on when they're having dinner, she's like, I'm not a dyke. I mean, like, a lesbian. It's like what? Like I get the idea that she rambles and she gets nervous and that, but it's just weird. It just maybe back in the 70s it wasn't weird, but I think from today's
the way she talks about women's lib is a bit funny.
Yeah,
it's a bit kind of creaky nowadays. Like she does make a rape joke later on.
That's what I've got that noted down. I was like, we keep trying to get away from rape at the moment, and we can't get away from it.
I was just like, seriously, every film.
She's like,
just has
because he's like, no, I don't want to do anything improper or upsetting. She goes, look, I'm pretty much raping you.
Yeah, which she's not at all.
No. She's very horny though.
They go back to her apartment, and she seems to make fettuccine, I think.
Yes.
And I'm obsessed with this because they're talking and she's drinking and she's having some wine and she places her wine glass down in the middle of her plate of pasta.
Yeah, no, that was bizarre.
I've never seen anyone do.
Do you know what though? I always wanted one of those phones. The
Mickey Mouse?
The Mickey Mouse phones, yeah.
Oh yeah, because he's obsessed with phones as well. That's another point in this bit.
Yeah, because she goes, "Here's my number. You can call me." And he's just mimic her.
Yeah, she's going, "Yes, sir, call." Bing, bing, or something like. And then they kiss, and this kiss is one of the weirdest kisses I've ever seen on screen.
Oh, I just want to backtrack a bit. When he first actually gets to San Francisco, and showing how weird everything is. There's a girl walking across the street wearing clear PVC trousers. And I was thinking, who wears those? Like, no one wore those. And then, like, the first people he meets is a bunch of Hare Krishnas.
Oh yeah, and they overtake him, don't they?
And I remember, like, back when I was younger, we used to like skate around town and stuff like that. The Hare Krishnas were always around, and
they were.
Now you don't see them, or it could be that I just don't skate around town anymore because I was going to say grown up. I haven't grown up, but
you haven't grown up.
But you don't see them anymore.
No, I think they're not as popular as they once were. I think that's the best way to put it. What was I talking about? Oh, their weird kiss. They have a weird kiss. Their mouths are very open. I didn't like it.
Yeah, because she goes, "Do you always kiss with your eyes open?" Or he.
Yeah. Then after they kind of meet up. No, after they have sex, he hears on the radio that a prostitute has been ripped in San Francisco, and they're like, "Oh my god,
my mission!"
My mission, yeah, because this is a long section of the film where he just doesn't care about the Ripper anymore. I found out that they had electric toothbrushes in 1979 from this film.
They had what?
I didn't. The electric toothbrushes.
Oh, okay.
I assumed it was a much later invention, but I found out from this that they had the electric toothbrush, which I thought was kind of interesting. The Ripper turns up at the bank again, asks her for money, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is that person that my mate." What's he call himself? Herb.
Yeah.
My mate Herb was telling me about, and she then gives a very bad excuse about where she's going, and then makes a phone call.
Well, no, she says, "Oh, did you enjoy the hotel that I sent you to?" And he's like, "Oh, that's how
she knows."
That's how she
knows.
Or
Herb knows.
She told Herb, yeah.
So I can't remember what happens now. What happens now, Ollie?
I know he kills another prostitute or a woman in her apartment.
Is this the bit? He does. The Ripper has a date, doesn't he? And he kills her in the car
in his lovely denim waistcoat and black turtleneck.
There's a bit in this where he's watching her drive. Have we gone past that?
Well, no. But there's a bit where basically she doesn't believe that he's a time traveller.
Yeah.
So he takes her to the museum to prove that that he's from another time.
Yeah.
And they get inside the time machine and they go forward 2 days.
Yes.
She comes out and sees the newspaper and sees that she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah, that's right.
The thing is, though, if they stay in that timeline, if they stay 2 days ahead, she's still alive. Because she's only dead if she goes back again. I mean, I know she was never dead anyway. But is that right? Yes. Because if she never went back, she wouldn't have died.
I find the point of this film when they know when she's going to die and they know where she's going to die. And H.G. Wells is like, "Look, you wait here.
I'm popping out."
And
I'll take some Valium.
She just happily goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I knew I was going to die there, even if it was in like a day's time, I would leave that house. I'm not going there. Like, but she just goes, oh, well, I've got a few hours. I'll just sleep. I'm like, no, just leave. Then it doesn't matter. Then you've escaped. And then you're not going to die there. But she decides instead to hide in the cupboard is her solution. And then he gets arrested
because they think he's the guy who's killing all. So yeah, H.G.
Wells we missed a bit when the Ripper goes to a disco.
Oh yeah, he goes. I've got that in my notes. He goes to the last days of disco.
Yeah, and he's discoing, and he picks up a girl at the club, and they and because they've gone into the future already, they know he's going to kill this girl at a point, so they're trying to race to stop him, but their car gets a flat tire.
Yeah, and then you see her body being winched out of the.
But H.G. Wells runs to a phone box and manages to make a phone call to the police and tells like too much detail about where the crime's happening, so they just assume that he's the killer. So the police pick him up instead of like anything else. So he's getting interrogated by the police, and he tells them that his name is Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Which actually, talking to Nicholas Meyer, do you know the film he made before this was about Sherlock Holmes? And
really?
It was the same kind of mashing of like fictional characters, because it was Watson is concerned that his friend Sherlock Holmes, because of his cocaine habit, is seeing villains everywhere. So he takes him to Austria to talk to Freud.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to watch this.
Get him home. It's called the 7% Solution, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it's the film that Nicholas Meyer made before Time After Time. So it's that kind of, again, like bashing of like fictional characters with reality. 7% Solution, yeah. It's meant to be good. I've never watched it, but so it's got Robert Duvall in as Dr. Watson, and Alan Arkin plays Freud, and Laurence Olivier plays Professor Moriarty.
I love Alan Arkin. Anything with Alan Arkin in is a watch for me. So yeah, what's after this then? So
then while he's getting interrogated, he's like yelling at the police saying, "Look, I'll sign anything you want me to sign as long as you just go to this house and just stop her getting murdered." They turn up at the house and there's blood everywhere and a plastic arm on the floor. Yeah. And they kind of apologise to H.G. Wells, and they say, "I'm sorry, we thought you were the murderer, but you're clearly not. So bye.
Here's your shit.
Here's your shit." Yeah. I didn't expect the Ripper to kill Amy, so I was actually kind of surprised.
So Amy's the one who works at the bank with her?
Yeah. No, Amy is Mary Steenburgen.
Oh, sorry, no. Who's the one he kills then?
He ends up killing a friend, isn't it? Her friend from work.
Yeah, from work, yeah.
Carol or something. And then as he's walking home, they meet in that really iconic bit of architecture that's in The Rock.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
And Amy's alive, and but Amy is going to get killed by the Ripper unless H.G. Wells gives the Ripper the key to the time machine, so he can just keep using the time machine to go around time, killing, ripping through time.
That should be the sequel.
Ripping through time.
Yeah.
And they try to do a swap with "here's the key and I'll take Amy," but the Ripper kind of pulls a fast one and runs off with Amy as well. Drives off, gets Amy to drive off, and then H.G. Wells now has to drive to win, so he jumps into Amy's car and he's like trying to work out how to, like, he's bashing around the streets and bashing into cars and like skidding around corners and stuff. I thought it was a pretty good car chase. Actually,
yeah, it was fun. You know, it's kind of got some of those like French Connection bullet shots for like low down kind of like POV of the bumper of the car driving around the sea and stuff like that.
And he's kind of bumping into stuff, and the Ripper's like, "You didn't teach him to drive one of these infernal machines, did you?" Or something. Like, they get to the kind of H.G. Wells Museum, the last showdown stuff, and at this point, you know how it's going to finish. There's one MacGuffin they introduce early in the film about how the time machine works that they haven't used yet, and you know it's going to be used at some point. But I loved David Warner here. I thought he was really good as the Ripper. I really enjoyed.
There's one bit we forgot to mention. You know when they're having the chase earlier in the film, like in the crowded. So he gets run over by a car or hit by a car.
Oh yes, yes.
And then,
I forgot.
Then
yes.
he gets up, but he's taken to hospital, and then H.G. Wells goes to hospital to try and find him, and then apparently he's dead, and I'm like, how is he dead?
Well, like they go like he's trying to see his friend. He's like, my friend was brought in. He's like an English gentleman, and the nurse goes, oh, he's dead, and H.G. Wells just goes, oh, okay. And leaves the hospital. So that's why he goes on a date.
Yeah, because he thinks he's dead. Yeah, so he
thinks the Ripper's dead.
But you don't see the body. If you're the character's ain't dead unless you see the body. Is that correct?
Yeah, even H.G. Wells is like, he can't be dead. I saw him sitting up after the crash. And the nurse is like, no, dead. That's it.
Anyway,
that hospital was like, it looked like hell.
Yeah,
I know
everyone was like. I know the whole point of going to hospital is that you're ill, but everyone looked like they'd been shot or like stabbed. Or
there was people with so much blood coming out their heads and everything, and I'm like, this is how a waiting room normally is. I don't think they just let you sit there and bleed out. And I couldn't tell if it was some commentary on America at the time or something. I think it's probably meant to be that because they're doing that whole thing about the 70s is like.
Well, I mean,
meant to
most
be
of
utopia, but actually it's horrible.
Most of the patients are African American people, aren't they? I think
they were. Yeah, they really were.
So maybe they're meant to be like Vietnam Agent Orange kind of.
Oh yeah, because you get that bit later when she talks about being anti-war, and he's like, "Yes, I'm a pacifist too." So that was the World War, and she's like, "How old do you think I am?" It was Vietnam.
The third one.
Like, oh, the third one. Oh my god. But yeah, anyway, David Warner jumps into the time machine, and he's about to go away, but Sherlock Holmes.
You may as well be.
H.G. Wells pulls out the little thing,
but he looks, but he looks down at it as if to say, "Go on, just put it out. Then it's all right."
Yeah. Like he can't do anything about it. It's just like, oh, he's gonna pull that MacGuffin out that he introduced earlier in the script, and he pulls it out, and then the Ripper just gets sent through time without his machine into infinity. I think he says into infinity and beyond. H.G. Wells is like, right, I gotta go back home. And they have a bit of a snuggle, but the last minute Amy decides that she has to go with him, and they snuggle up in the time machine and have a little kissing and hug, and then they go back to 1800s. The end.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, do you know it came out on my birthday, September 7th, 1979.
Happy birthday. You get a bit of text about how wonderful H.G. Wells was at the end, which I find quite funny.
But yeah, and it says they stayed together until her death in 27, and then his in 1946, which I said was true, which was true.
And I think it was true that.
So this is what it says. What it goes. H.G. Wells married Amy Catherine Robbins, who died in 1927. As a writer, he anticipated socialism, global war, space travel, and women's liberation. He died in 1946.
He did. I mean, what did you think then? What's your overall opinion of it?
It was just a fun, easy watch. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, it was a nice one to end it on. We've watched some We've watched some tough films, and and we just ended it on a nice, I wouldn't say jovial, because it's kind of, it's got death in it and stuff, and it's about a serial killer, which is weird because it's about real serial killers, a real serial killer. Would you? Of the serial killers that are around now, or have been around recently, like Fred West and all that kind of stuff, how long is it until you can make a jovial kind of film about them?
The Ripper's just special, as you say. It's a special media creature. The Ripper is a real thing.
Because you don't know who he is as well. That's
and there's even at the time, the Ripper wasn't a real person. It was a boogeyman, used to attack Jewish people, basically, or the Ripper's always been a fictional character, so he just lends himself to stories like this, and that's why he'll always be used as this fictional villain. If you ever want to use a villain, it's so easy to use the Ripper, because even Jack's not even his name, is it? It's just what they called him. So I think it makes sense, and I kind of I like blurring fiction and reality like that. I like kind of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah.
I like merging those kind of worlds. I always think it's really good fun, and I like time travel films. So, and the only thing that I would say the only thing that disappoints me about this film is I was expecting it more to be kind of a Ripper chase through time, or more of an adventure film, just because of the way it was sold to me a bit.
I didn't think it was just set in one. Well, I know it's set in 2 time periods, but it's predominantly 1979. I thought it'd be a bit more.
I thought there'd be a little more time stuff going on.
Yeah.
I also, half the film isn't the Ripper chase, as you say. He thinks he's dead. Half of the film's really just them falling in love.
Well, she doesn't really come into it until halfway through, to be honest. Though.
Not too far. Yeah. And there is a lot of them just like going on dates and talking about kind of issues in the 70s and clearly like falling for each other. That's a lot of the film compared to the Ripper stuff. If now I know that, I think I'll have more fun with it if I watched it again. But because I didn't know that going in, it was a bit weird to me. I was expecting something else to happen. So it's not the film's fault. That's just the way I was sold it.
It seems to me it's ripe for a remake or doing something with that.
Yeah.
I think you could do something with it and make it, different enough and change it up and stuff like that. So I think it's something that could be done.
I was saying like just in terms of like a solid kind of fun, 70s kind of adventure film. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I can see why people really like this film. I can see why it's kind of maintained as a cult classic.
Yeah, it's a solid 3 out of 5 film, and not in a bad way. Like in the way
not in a bad way. Yeah,
the way Bill and Ted Face the Music's a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
but it's just perfectly enjoyable, watchable. You can't really critique it because it is what it is, and it just does what it does well. But it just doesn't change the world. Like I don't know, you can't fault it. But it's just enjoyable. So yeah.
So what is that your rating for it then? 3 out of 5?
I think so. Yeah, I think
about the same. Yeah, I think so. Same. Yeah. Anyway, cool. Oh, that was lovely.
So what are we talking about next week then?
What are we talking about next week? Oh, so that was the last film of the 1970 series, but we got a couple more to wrap the whole mini series up with. First, we're going to be doing our like influencer kind of episode. So we're going to talk about we're going back to the start of the 70s, I think, and we're going to talk about Chuck Jones. Yeah,
because he was one of the directors on a film called, is it The Phantom Toll Booth?
The Phantom Toll Booth, yeah.
Yeah, so he directed all the animated sequences and portions of that film, didn't he?
So that's a film that's half animated and half live action, if I remember right. I haven't watched it yet. Based on a book, but Chuck Jones, proper titan of like animation. So we're going to talk about Chuck Jones and watch The Phantom Toll Booth.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. So don't forget, please rate, review, and subscribe on all the various platforms that you find us on, be that Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, or Spotify. You can reach out to us on Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track. That's a YR, not a your. And don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.
Do you know, in one of the banks, by the way, Robert Shaw is the bank manager.
Really?
Welcome back to the podcast, Robert Shaw. Yeah.
Third time returning. I didn't know it was. I was looking for IMDb just to see who else is in the film, and it said Robert Shaw, and I was like, "You what?" Hang on, this must have been released posthumously then.
What?
Wasn't he dead by then?
But Robert Shaw?
Yeah.
No, he died in. Oh no, he did. He died in like 79 or something, didn't he? 78 he died.
So it must have been like one of his last films.
I think I'm wrong. I don't think he's in this film. I think I made it up. I think we have to cut this bit out.
Yeah, I can't see him credited.
I don't know what I was looking at. The ghost of Robert Shaw's in this film. Next, moving on.